Hey everybody, welcome to Board Game Heaven. My name is Raymond, and in this video I'm taking a look at Awkward Guests, the Walton Case by Megacorpin Games. This is a murder mystery deduction game for 2 to 8 players, ages 12 and up, that plays in about 45 to 75 minutes. Mr. Walton has been murdered, and all players need to investigate who done it and with which weapon and in which room, kind of like Clue, but you'll see that this goes a lot further than that. Now, before I explain how to play the game and share my thoughts on it, I'd like to ask you to please hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed already. It really helps the channel. Please give it a like as well. And check out my Patreon page by clicking the link in the description below. And that'll take you to my Patreon page where you can read how you can support my channel as well. Patreon supporters get early access to all of my videos, their name in the credits, and access to Patreon exclusive videos, plus you save up for the exclusive Board Game Heaven enamel pin. And with that out of the way, let's start explaining how to play the game. To set up a game of Awkward Guests, you give every player one of these note sheets. There's a big notepad, and they are all double-sided. So you can play a lot of games, and you can also laminate a few if you need extra. And you also give every player one of these privacy screens, which look like this on the front. And on the back, they have the same kind of information as your sheet here, with some additional information about the clue cards. And they are also dry erase, so you can actually write on these as well. Every player chooses a case-solving token, which are these 8 investigators. You keep these double-sided offer tokens somewhere within easy reach of all the players. The same with these inquiry tokens. And then from the back of the rule book here, there's a whole bunch of these cases. There's 39, and you just pick a case, and they have different difficulties, as you can see. And they all have these numbers on them, and these correspond with the cards, the case cards that you have. So you simply look up all of these numbers from the decks of cards, and you take all of these cards and you shuffle that deck. So the game box here has these slots for all of these different cards. This is for other components, but these 5 slots have cards, and they will say here these are cards 1 through 50, 51 through 100, etc. for all these spots. So you simply take all of those cards out of the box, and as you can see, they are numbered. They've got a number 1 through 50 for these first cards here. And of course, the same goes for all those other cards. And according to the case you picked, you look up those cards without looking at them, and you take them out, and you just keep all of those. And that will be your case deck. You also take the discard pile drawer with it, which is this little cardboard drawer here. And you keep that in the center of the table as well, with the confidential card, which will always be on top of this. So any discarded cards will be in here underneath the confidential card, so you can see which cards were discarded. Decide who gets to be the first player and give that player the first player marker, which is this one. And there's also a set of cards for all the awkward guests, the suspects, if you will, and that is just information about those characters. They don't really have a purpose in the game, except that all of these characters do have a number or a letter associated to their name and a symbol. You can also find these letters, of course, in bold on the sheet and on the screen as well. That's the whole setup. Now you're ready to play. Let's explain the rules. Awkward Guests is played over a number of rounds, with every player taking a turn during the round and continuing in an anti-clockwise fashion. And every round, of course, starts with the starting player of that round. A player's turn is divided into 3 phases. First, there is the inquiry phase, then there is the offer phase, and then there is an exchange phase. And at the end of each round, there's also a solution phase, and if the game continues, a discard phase. So during the first phase, the inquiry phase, the active player will request information about 2 different references, and you do that out loud. And possible references are the guests, so that's the 6 guests on your paper here or on the screen. You can also inquire about the rooms in the mansion, and they are also listed here on the sheet, of course. There's the garage, trophy room, billiard room, etc. So you can either ask information about 2 rooms, or about 2 guests, or about 1 guest and 1 room. A total of 2 questions. And the back of the rule book has an overview of all the rooms and all the suspects in large print, and you can use these inquiry tokens to indicate what you are going to ask about. So maybe you're going to ask about the bedroom and about this guest. And once you've done that, the next phase is going to be the offer phase, and starting with the player sitting to the right of the active player and following in an anti-clockwise order, the other players, the non-active players, will choose from their hands the cards that they would like to offer in exchange. And players can offer as many of their cards as they please, provided that each card contains at least 1 of the requested references. So you can't offer cards that have none of these references on them. So then the other players look at their cards. So let's just have a look at this player right here and take a look up close here. So they've got reference vestibule and billiard room, which is not the case. We asked about the bedroom, the study, also not. We asked about Greg Gaffney, which is also not here. The study. Here is Greg Gaffney. So this player does have Greg Gaffney and Mortimer Mallow, but we only need this one, but that's fine. This is on the card, so they could use this one. And there's a living room, and that's it. So this is the only card that they could offer, and they keep the rest of the cards hidden in their hand. And they place this card face down on the table so the other players cannot see what they are offering. So then, after all the other players have put down any offers of cards on the table face down, they then inform the other players of the total sum of the information values on their cards. So let's just see here what that means for this card. See, this card has an information value of 1. So this player will say, well, I have a value of 1. This player has a 3 and a 1, so that's a total value of 4. And the third player here has a value of 3. And once you declare that total, the decisions are final and you cannot modify your bid. And then it's time for the exchange phase. So once all the offers have been made, the active player will then decide which player to exchange cards with. So they may exchange cards with as many players as they please, as long as they have cards enough in exchange, because the cards that they offer in exchange have to have equal or greater value of points on their cards in order to be able to exchange. So you always have to equal or surpass that number. It is not allowed to negotiate for less. So what do all these cards mean? Well, they're clues, of course. So let's take a closer look at this card, for example. And here it will say, these are the references. So we've got Angelica Albinson, Mortimer Mallow, and the trophy room here. And the clue is down here. So it says, the service staff reports that Angelica Albinson and Mortimer M.W. Mallow did not pass through the trophy room. And this is what you can then mark on your sheet of paper. So here it says the trophy room, and then the A and the M for these 2 people can be crossed off, so you know they did not pass through here. And that's important information that you write down on your notepad and keep that behind your privacy screen, of course. So normally this would be, of course, set upright. And at the start of the game, obviously you do that for all of the clue cards you've already received. So all of these cards are now known information to you alone. but you will be exchanging these cards. So that means you will get new information and the other players will get information that you had as well. So let's say, for example, we wanted that card, which was a total of 3. We also have a card of 3, so that's just one card with one clue on it. And we could also give them 3 1 cards, or a 2 and a 1 card combined, but then we would be giving away more information than we would get. So it's usually a good idea to try and give as least cards as possible in exchange for more cards possibly. So if I had a 4, which I don't, then I could take all of these cards, these 2 cards, which add up to 4, for just a single clue. So the higher the value, the better they are to give away. And the more cards you can get, the better, of course, because you want to get more clues than the other investigators. But so let's just say we're going to exchange this card with that player for this card. And then we take a look at it and we get a new clue. And this one says the police report shows that among the possible motives, none were of the type payback. Because at the end of the game, we need to know who was the killer, what their motive was, the why, and how. So with which murder weapon. And in some cases, you might also have an accomplice. You can cross off no if that wasn't the case, but if there was, you also need to know who it was and why they were an accomplice. Now, if and only if none of the other players actually offer any cards in exchange, nobody else offered any cards for you, then the active player may draw 3 cards from the game deck. So you draw 3 cards from this deck, and after the exchange phase, you pass the first player marker in counterclockwise order to the next player. And that marks the end of a round. And at the end of every round, all the players have a chance to solve the mystery in the solution phase, because during one player's turn, other players might get some clues in exchange and might actually find the solution. So during this phase, all the players will take their investigation token here, their case solving token, and they secretly decide if they want to show it with the light side up or the dark side up. And then everybody at the same time just reveals it. If it's the dark side, you just need more clues. You haven't made up your mind yet. But if somebody places it like this, that means that they will have the solution, or will try to solve the case at least. And any players that do decide to try and solve the mystery must have written their solution right here on their sheet. And then when that is done, so let's say maybe 2 players think at some point that they can solve the case, then those players secretly and individually check the back of the rule book in the solutions section, and they see if they solved the case right here. So a bit of a spoiler here, but that's secretly done. So make sure you don't already reveal your solution until after checking. Now, if you guessed all the crime details, so the murderer, the motive, the weapon, possibly an accomplice and their name and motive, if they guess that correctly, then the game ends and they are the winners. But if none of the players guessed correctly, the players that try to solve the mystery are eliminated from the game and their cards are revealed to the rest of the players. So the remaining players can then note down any clues from those cards on their sheet, and then those cards are placed face up in the revealed card pile. So reserve a spot next to the draw pile there with the revealed cards. And if nobody guessed correctly, the game simply continues with the remaining player, unless there is only one player left, and that player wins by default. But if the game simply continues, then there is another phase, and that is the discard phase. Now, if you've used the app, because there's also an Awkward Guests app, then the players will check their solutions with the app. And the app does not show the correct solution like you would see in the booklet. So those players can still continue to be in the game. So I would recommend using the app instead of the actually game book. And of course, if the app tells you you were correct, you win the game. But if you haven't gotten the right solution, like I said, you can still be in the game, but as a penalty, you're not allowed to participate in the next solution phase. So then at the end of the solution phase, like I said, there's a discard phase, and then all players who are still in the game must discard cards from their hands until their hands are each down to 3 cards. And those are not placed in the discard pile, but in the confidential pile, because those are cards that only you know of. So you discard down. So maybe you know that, well, this card was in that other player's hand, so at least another player knows about this, and now I know about this. I don't care that much about this, and it's a high value with just one clue, but all these single ones only I know about, and maybe I want to get rid of those. So I'll get rid of some of these. I've already written down the clues on my sheet anyway. Maybe I want to keep the 2, and I want to keep another 1, so I have these 3 cards left now. So I'll keep those, I'll discard those, everybody does the same, and then you place the confidential card on top of that so nobody can see which cards were discarded. And then the next player in counterclockwise order takes a turn, and what they do is they take cards from the top of the deck and deal out 3 cards to all the players, starting with the player on their right, until every player has 6 cards again. And then that player takes their turn with the inquiry phase, the offer phase, the exchange phase, after which all players can participate in the solution phase if they feel confident they have the solution, another discard phase, etc. Now, should the draw deck ever run out, then the active player will take all of the discarded cards under the confidential card here, so only the cards that people haven't seen. They shuffle that deck and they place the top 3 cards face up on the table for all to see, revealing their information. And then when everybody has examined those cards and noted down their clues, they are discarded in the revealed discard pile again, so not back into the tray. And the rest of that shuffled deck becomes the new draw pile. Now, those are the rules for 3 to 8 players. There is a small variant for 2-player games, and it's the same rules, but when making inquiries about locations or people, you have to request information on 4 different references instead of just 2. And also in the exchange phase, any cards received in an exchange are not placed into your hands, but both players look at the cards they exchange and they received, they take your notes, they take notes and immediately discard those cards. And only in a case where the active player doesn't receive an offer from the other player, then that player draws 2 cards from the game deck, making, once again, any notes they wish to make on their tracking sheet, and also immediately discard those cards. And there's also a solo game variant, but you can only play that with the app, and the app itself will explain how to go through the rules and how to play that. And those are all the rules on how to play Awkward Guests. Let's go to my final thoughts. So my final thoughts on Awkward Guests by Megacorpin Games, and this copy was donated to the channel for reviewing purposes by Taverna Ludica, who I'd like to thank for that opportunity. Let's start with the components. The box is pretty cool to start with. It looks like a briefcase that has files in it, and that's pretty nice. It's a bit of an odd shape for your shelf perhaps, but it's not bigger than it needs to be. It has slots for all the cards. It has the numbers written here so you know which cards are where, which makes it a lot easier for setting up the game because you need a certain number of cards. They're all numbered to make your deck. And there's one slot for all the rest of the components. So that works really well. I like the privacy screens. They look nice. They have this cool mansion on one side, of course, but on the other side you have all the information you need for the game. You have the map, you have the motives, the weapons, the characters, and some information on how the cards work that give you the clues. So everything is right here, like a turn overview and everything. It's very, very handy to have this. So that's well done. But of course, the main thing is the leaflet where you make your notes, and the screen is dry erase, I think. So even if you run out of leaves here, paper, then I guess you could use a dry erase marker and do the same thing on the screen. But since it's standing up, that's a bit awkward. So having these is a great idea, and I would suggest just laminating about 8 of them so you can play this indefinitely. And they are double-sided as well, so you get plenty of these to play a lot of games. So like I said, everything on here is clearly printed. You can make notes, you can cross off stuff, you can check boxes, and yeah, it's all there. So that is super handy and very necessary for this game, of course. You got these nice tokens for voting, which are big enough and a nice quality, and clearly different colors on both sides to indicate if you need more time or if you're gonna try and crack the case, and you can easily hold those in your hand and then put them down at the same time. You got your cards, which are also of a good quality and clearly printed. Everything is on there that you need to know. You've got the offering tokens where you're bidding. You put down the value of the combined cards that you're offering, and you just put that down so the person whose turn it is knows how much you're offering and how much they need to give you back in return. And I also like the little drawer, which is the confidential files drawer, where you put all the discarded cards that other people don't get to see with the confidential card on top, so that you can't read what's on them. It's a nice little touch. The artwork is really nice. I like the cover of the box. Like I said, I like the screens. I like all the characters. They have a bit of a caricature type of illustrations here on everything, on the cards, on the leaf books and the leaflets, and it looks really cool. It just looks really funny, a bit humorous, and yeah, that just works for me. It's all in a sepia color, which also brings out the theme. I like the theme. It's like a Agatha Christie, a 1920s kind of murder mystery, Hercule Poirot kind of stuff. And I love that. And this game, the art and the theme really brings that forward. And that's just really well done. The gameplay is great. I love a good deduction game. And this is basically Clue on steroids. I think that's the best description. It's Clue for gamers, for maybe a more adult audience. If you want to go a step further, then this is definitely it. There's so much you need to do, so much you need to deduce. You start out with a number of cards, so you already have a number of clues. You start marking them on your sheet, and then you just need to get more clues. So you need to ask for clues. People are offering clues. You can offer them cards in return. But the trick is, all the cards you give them, they will learn. And then you will learn new facts as well. So what you're trying to do is remember who got your clues and what clues they gave you, so that on a next turn, when you're trading with that same person, you can try and give them back the cards that they gave you previously. If you can somehow manage to keep up with who got which card, then you can give them information they already had, and they won't get any wiser from that, while of course trying to get new information yourself. And that's part of the game here, and I really like that. It's not just adding up all the information and deducing whatever's left, basically getting the answer by elimination like Sherlock Holmes, but it's also trying to play the other players and trying to avoid that they get more information than you got. And that's just wonderfully done. I think that's awesome, and I have a lot of fun playing this game. And it plays up to 8 players too, so it gets more difficult with more players, because trying to remember who had which clue is increasingly difficult with 8 players or more players than that you're playing with 3 or 4 players. Then it's a lot more easy to keep track. And at a certain point, when you're thinking, well, I got a lot of clues now. I might have the answer. There's just a couple of things that I want to make sure I didn't get wrong. So I need this or that clue to really get the answer. When you reach that point, you might start noticing that other players are also at that point. So you want to hurry. And, you know, as soon as you feel confident enough to take a stab, pun intended, at the answer, you can always do that. But there's a risk that you're wrong, of course, if you're not 100% sure. And if you wait until you're 100% sure, somebody else might beat you to it. So there's that pressure going on as well, and I really like that. And of course, if you use the app, which I greatly recommend, you can actually try and enter your answer and see if it's correct or not. The app will just tell you you're right or you're wrong. And you're not out of the game. If you check the rule book, you have to see the answer. And then, of course, you know the answer. So if you're wrong, you're out of the game. You're eliminated. But with the app, you can keep playing. The only penalty is that you can't take another guess for one whole round, which is a bit, you know, tense and tricky because somebody else might, again, beat you to it then. So there's that. You have to really be sure, but not wait too long. So finding that sweet spot, that's a lot of fun. And while trying to gather as many clues as you can. Because also if you wait longer with gathering clues, trying to get more and more clues, then at some point you'll get cards that are kind of useless because you already knew these things from other cards. You know, you've eliminated so many things that sometimes you'll get cards and you're like, okay, this is a new card, but it's not really telling me anything new. So there's that as well. And the replayability is off the charts. There are so many cards and there's 39 cases, 39 different cases where you combine different numbers of cards because all the cards are numbered, and there's 243 of them in the core game. There is also an expansion, or maybe 2 expansions, I don't really recall. And there's even an awkward guests too. So if you don't have, you know, if you can't get enough of this game, there is a sequel. But this game alone has so much replayability. And even if you play through all 39 scenarios, which are in different difficulties, so you have easier and harder cases to crack, and with or without accomplices, of course. So that makes it more difficult. Even if you play through all of those and you start again, you won't remember what the answers were from all the cases. It'll take you ages to play through all of these. So the replayability is pretty much unlimited with the core game already. And like I said, there are expansions as well. So that's really good. Then there's the language dependency. So that is the one thing that this game does have. It does have language dependency. There is plenty of text on your sheets, all the rooms, all the characters, all their motives, and the murder weapons. That's all written down. There's a lot of writing on the cards, of course. And some cards do have like icons that basically tell you how to mark that on your sheet. It basically gives you, you know, the thing you need to cross off, or the room you need to put an X in, or a path, or whatever, or a weapon that's not gonna be the weapon. So you just cross that off. So a lot of these cards kind of do tell you with images and icons what you need to do, but there is a lot of text on these cards. But the game has been published in several languages, so just find your preferred copy of your language and you'll be fine. So in the end, I find this to be a very, very enjoyable deduction game. It's Clue on steroids, like I said, and that's just a lot of fun. If you liked games like Clue and you like deduction games and trying to figure stuff out faster than the other players, then I can certainly recommend giving Awkward Guests a try. Well, that was that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and please also check out my Patreon page by clicking the link in the description below or the icon at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Board Game Heaven.